Chinese boats reach Vietnam to evacuate citizens after protests. 2 boats arrived in Vietnam to collect Chinese citizens as Vietnamese authorities thwarted anti-China protests after violent demonstrations resulted in 2 deaths and damage at factories. The Chinese passenger ships reached the central Vietnamese port of Vung Ang this morning, Duong Nha Quang, head of the port in Ha Tinh province, said by phone. Each ship can carry almost 1,000 passengers, he said. More than 3,000 Chinese nationals had already been brought home as of May 17, China's foreign ministry said yesterday, with more than 290 flown to Chengdu. Security forces in Vietnam's major cities yesterday deterred people from protesting the placement of an oil rig in disputed waters off Vietnam's coast after the government allowed unprecedented rallies that drew several thousand people on May 11. The anti-China attacks on foreign-owned factories last week also left about 140 injured, halting production lines and causing Taiwanese and other workers to flee the country. China's move to send ships to pick up its workers could have been an overreaction, said David Koh, an independent consultant and former senior fellow at the Institute for Southeast Asian Studies in Singapore who has studied Vietnam for more than 20 years. Whether it is purposely done, intended as a political statement or not, that's very hard to tell, Koh said. The signal could actually be for the Chinese citizens as well, to tell them that the Chinese state does care for them. Vietnam authorities, worried that uncontrolled demonstrations could lead to instability and harm the economy, prevented planned protests over the weekend as China sought to shift the spotlight to Vietnam's lack of order, said Le Hong Hype, a lecturer at Vietnam National University in Ho Chi Minh City. The government is careful not to let the anti-China demonstrations cause collateral damage, he said by phone. Vietnam needs to assure China that it will protect its citizens. China is portraying itself as a victim and portraying the Vietnamese government as a source of tension. Some Chinese travel agencies have suspended Vietnam tour services after the protests, China's official Xinhua news agency reported, with Ctrip.com advising customers against Vietnam trips and refunding customers who have already booked tours. Taiwan's foreign minister is urging Vietnam to compensate companies that were attacked. China called on Vietnam to protect the lives and property of Chinese nationals and organizations in the country.